Hello, my loves. Welcome back to the Unfuck Your Relationships podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Panning, and this is episode 223. And today we're getting into how to not abandon yourself and to actually find self-love that is bigger than what people paint it out to be on social media. Like, it's not fucking bubble baths and hot girl walks. And like, whilst those things are amazing, we're actually going to talk about the actual shifts that you can make. And I'm going to share a lot of my own journey because I don't necessarily think that I really realized how much I had been abandoning myself in relationships prior to the one that I'm in now. And I remember having this, I was working with a somatic therapist a few years ago, and I have never resonated with being a caretaker because I am not, like I always looked at caretaking in the sense of, you know, like cooking and cleaning and like looking after your man and all of those things. And I don't do any of that shit. So I just never really resonated with that, I guess, traditional feminine archetype of being the caretaker. And I never really saw myself as nurturing or maternal or anything. And I remember having this conversation with this somatic therapist. And she was like, you know, you're like the ultimate caretaker in relationships, right? I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And it really was such a shocking moment to me because I had never seen how much of the emotional labor that I was doing in relationships where I was constantly looking after their emotions and like what they were doing. And if I, you know, given my history and I guess you want to say like quote unquote trauma that I had experienced in my life, the way that that's manifested for me is being very hyper vigilant to any change in environment, which is what makes me a really great coach, right? Like I can sense any shift in your body language or tonality or just like any shift of how you would normally show up. And so if I ask you a question that is really challenging for you, and you kind of go into like what you would see as like imperceivable, I can perceive that little tiny micro shutdown. And that's what makes me so great. But also in relationships, I would take that and be like, oh my God, I've done something wrong. And then go overboard and really be, going to the ends of the earth to look at them and their shadows and their patterns and what they're doing and how I could change myself to be how they wanted me to be. And ultimately, I would end up a shell of myself and I would end up miserable. And then, of course, the relationship would inevitably end because I'm no longer the person that they fell in love with. I'm no longer like bubbly and outgoing and, you know, open-hearted and all the things. Like my heart would close because I was tired of being their fucking parent. And I was resentful, thinking that, oh, you put me in this position, when the reality is nobody put me in that position but myself, because in that I directly benefited from being their mom. I directly benefited from being their caretaker because I got to feel a sense of significance and importance. And really, honestly, you think that you're being so selfless by caretaking another person, but actually it's incredibly self-absorbed because what I could see was I was basically like, I'm going to take care of you so much in the ways that I want to take care of you that I'm going to make you so fucking reliant on me that you never leave me. It's twisted. It's twisted and it's fucked up. And that's basically what happened. But then I would become reliant on them. And that's called codependency. So I'm going to break down how you can kind of shift out of that dynamic. And something that I shared with a client recently was around, you know, she's in a relationship and she feels like she's lost herself. And something that we talked about was, I want you to act single, but in a relationship. Now, if your jaw just dropped to the floor at why I would give such unhinged advice, hear me out, because I don't mean go fuck whoever you want and go talk to whoever you want. That's not what I'm talking about. Still, if you're in a monogamous relationship, honor the boundaries of your relationship. Even if you're in a polyamorous relationship, honor the boundaries of your relationship that you and your partner have come up with, or partners have come up with. But what I mean by acting single in a relationship is just because you get into a relationship doesn't mean you drop your friends, drop your hobbies, drop your like gym routine, like drop all of the things, because then you're going to end up being a shell of a shell of yourself, because you're just constantly looking after another person, and you're like 3 years in, and then probably listening to this podcast, and then probably coming to work with me and going, who the fuck am I? Like, I actually don't know. So we're going to, through this episode, we're going to shift out of that. When it comes to self-love, most people are waiting to, they really see it as this feeling, and it's kind of like, oh, when I have this, or I have this certain body, or I have a certain amount of money, or I'm doing all of these things, it's kind of like when I have these external markers, or I look a certain way, or I have the partner or whatever, then I'm going to feel this love for myself. And it almost becomes this elusive feeling, when actually, if you think about someone that you love so much, whether that's your partner or your best friend or your mom or your child, even your fucking dog, if I'm completely honest, you probably treat those people or your pet better than you treat yourself. And so self-love to me is actually so tied in with self-respect. And that is treating yourself the way that you would treat another person. If you resonate with being a caretaker, you probably do the most for everybody else. You become very selfless. You are looking after other people. And what about you? Like, why are you at the bottom of your fucking list? I don't understand. I don't understand. Because you treat everyone with the utmost respect, hopefully. And that's actually, like, side note, that guys, message me. If I have not done a podcast on disrespect and contempt in the next like month, please message me on Instagram to tell me to do this podcast, because I need to, because I have so much to say on how disrespect and contempt shows up in relationships. But the reality is you treat everyone with so much respect, but what about you? And what does self-respect even mean? It means following through with what you say you're going to do and treating yourself with fucking respect and dignity, right? Having your head held high. If your best friend was like, oh yeah, I'm doing this, and my man is like, he won't even listen to me, and I'm thinking of extreme examples, but like, he's cheating on me, and he gaslights me, and he lies to me, and here you are, you're talking to your best friend being like, that's fucked up, you should leave. And here you are going, oh, but maybe he's going to change, giving the benefit of the doubt consistently over and over and over again. That's not loving to yourself. That's not respecting yourself. And we can talk about having compassion for another person. Something that I've actually noticed in myself really recently is I've gotten so good at seeing both sides, which is so interesting, because I, throughout the history of my life, have been very black and white. It's good or it's bad. It's right or it's wrong. It's this or it's that. And I was never able to hold like two conflicting opinions, which is a very human trait, but that's coming from the ego, right? And so I've always found that really challenging to be able to hold duality, but it's actually become one of my biggest strengths. And it's funny because with my partner, like, she'll say something and I'm like, yeah, but have you thought about this side? Have you seen this side? And I'm very good at playing devil's advocate, which is my greatest strength, but it's also my greatest weakness, because I can sometimes be like overly compassionate and give people chance after chance after chance after chance. And something that I really learned and that I really saw in previous relationships, and even like work relationships with like team members and stuff, was where I would actually overstay, where I would know that something was not a good fit for me, but I would excuse it because, oh, well, you know, they're new to the team. Like, they don't know how it works. You know, where could I be a better leader? Where can I step into more leadership? Where could I give more direction? Or in a relationship where, you know, I'm saying, oh, but they have trauma and they're new to the work and they're trying and they're doing their best. And all of those things can be true. But also, if I've had conversations with you about it and I've seen no attempt to change, see ya, I'm out. And actually, I feel like I'm kind of stepping into my cutthroat era. I had a conversation. I got a new accountant recently, and we're in the onboarding process right now. And he was asking about like just certain expenses that I had and whatever, and was like, are you happy with this? Are you happy with this? And there was like something that I was like, oh, like not really. And he was like, great, gone. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay, cool. Like cutthroat. Whereas I'm like, oh, let's give the benefit, like, let's just see. And I really saw how in previous relationships, like I said, like I overstayed. That was my pattern of consistently overstaying in relationships because I would give the benefit of the doubt. Whereas when I was talking to clients or I was talking to, my best friends or whoever, I was very much, I could see where they were actually just tolerating disrespect and not being respectful and loving towards themselves. But I wasn't having that same, it's like I had so much generosity for everybody else, but I wouldn't extend that same generosity and compassion to myself because I thought that I was being a bitch. I thought that I was being too harsh by, cutting someone out of my life or whatever. And so, yeah, I really feel like I'm entering my villain era. Maybe that's what 2026 is my villain era. That it's like, I'm just not tolerating that. And that's part of not abandoning yourself, right? Do I feel like I need to get into a shit flinging fight with everyone online? No, absolutely not. But also, which I don't actually experience this ever, but if you're disrespecting me on my Instagram, and it's not just like a difference of opinion, like you can always share your difference of opinion. That is so fine. Like you can say whatever. But if you're blatantly disrespecting me on my own platform, like you're blocked. Goodbye. And the thing is, if I were to come onto your page and do that same thing, block me. Like you can do that. And I think people get really twisted. I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but people get really, really twisted with that when it comes to blocking, whether it's someone who's being disrespectful on your page or it's an ex or whatever. I don't think that blocking someone is coming from hate. I actually see it as like, I'm protecting my energy. And there's certain things where I'm like, yeah, we just don't need to be in contact. Like that just does not need to have a place in my world. And that is part of loving yourself. The next thing is actually being your own advocate, which means prioritizing your comfort and your needs, even if it inconveniences other people. And that is really uncomfortable, especially if you fall into that caretaking or people pleasing or whatever, because you think that you're like, oh, I don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable by saying no or whatever it is. That's actually not what it is. That's what your ego tells you it is because you're such a nice person and, oh, you don't want to like make anyone else feel uncomfortable. It's actually you don't want to feel uncomfortable with their discomfort, right? So it's actually not about them. And this is where people pleasers get really twisted because you think you're like so altruistic and giving. And I'm not saying that you're not. That's absolutely a part of you. And every shadow contains a gift. But you're also actually denying the part of you that is selfish, inherently selfish. That's like, oh, I don't want to say no because then this person's going to be upset and then I'm going to have to deal with that and I'm going to have to caretake their emotions. When actual healthy relating, whether it's a friendship, a work relationship, a romantic relationship, whatever, is recognizing my emotions, actions, and behaviors are my responsibility. Your actions, emotions, and behaviors are your responsibility. And that's not to say that I don't care about your emotions or I don't recognize the impact that I have on your emotions. I'm not like, don't be a dick, basically. You don't have to steamroll people because this is the shadow. Do you guys see my fucking duality? Because I will say one thing and then immediately contradict myself. But just, you gotta bear with me, right? Okay, full transparency. I just fully lost my train of thought and it's gone. It's disappeared out of my head. So apparently whatever was going to come out of my mouth is not meant to leave my brain. And if it comes back, it's going to come back. But yeah, this thing of like being willing to prioritize your comfort, even if it inconveniences someone else. That could look like leaving an event early. That could look like saying no to something. That could look like canceling plans. And here's where there's two sides to it, because it could be you canceling plans because you're actually just flaky, right? Or canceling plans because you're actually exhausted. So for instance, it was my friend's kind of like, she was moving house. And so it was like the opposite of a housewarming party, a house goodbye party. And I was really excited to go. My partner and I were going. And then I got viral tonsillitis. It was fucked, guys. I couldn't swallow for like a week. I felt like I was swallowing razor blades. It was so bad. And so I told her earlier in the week, hey, I'm just letting you know, I've come down with this thing. I'm hoping that I'm going to be better by Saturday, but it's touch and go right now. Friday came and I still was not feeling better. So I canceled, And so it's like, I don't know, maybe she does or did have feelings about that. Maybe. But also that's recognizing, giving that responsibility back, that I know that I did my part in terms of, I told her earlier in the week and I told her the day before that I'm not going to be able to make it. And that is me prioritizing my health because I needed to rest. I was exhausted. I also was contagious. And so like the last thing I want to do for me or for her is be in a room, with a bunch of people and me, coughing or just being snotty or whatever. It was, shit. So you need to be willing to prioritize your comfort and your needs, even if it inconveniences others, and let them have their experience with that, right? Just because someone is experiencing discomfort does not mean you need to rescue them from that. And if you continue to rescue them from that, guess who never gets to build resilience? That other person. And when it comes to building really a strong sense of self-love and not abandoning yourself, we see this, I see this a lot with my clients where it's like in the big moments, right? Or let's bring this to self-trust, where they're talking about they don't want to abandon themselves and they want to have trust to leave a relationship or change a career or move across the world or the country. But they can't trust themselves to like send a meal back if they got the wrong meal, or they can't trust themselves to speak up when something is wrong or when they have a differing opinion or something. And so this ability to stay with yourself and to really love yourself and trust yourself is built in these micro moments where I remember this time, oh God, I would have been like 20 maybe. So, over 15 years ago. And I think I was a vegetarian at that point, maybe. And so I ordered oh no, I wasn't vegetarian, but I didn't really like meat. I've never really liked meat, but I would eat it occasionally. And so I got I think I ordered a cheese pizza or something. And then when the pizza came, it was like a meat lover's. Guess who ate the fucking pizza? It's so cringe to talk about because I was like, oh, I don't want to make them feel bad. I don't want to make them feel bad. It wasn't even like, oh, my food's a little bit cold. It was fully just the wrong order. And I didn't say shit, right? So how am I supposed to trust myself to be able to discern whether I'm in the right relationship or not and decide if I want to leave a relationship if I can't even trust myself to send back a fucking pizza that is the wrong pizza, right? So these are the things that you need to look at, of these little micro moments where you actually speak up, where you say, hey, I would prefer something different, or I would like it like this, or, having those difficult conversations. I've had them with team members. I've had them with partners. I've had it with friends. It really is like leaning in and having those difficult conversations and advocating for yourself, to kind of piggyback off the last point. Something else that I really advocate with my clients is the importance of just checking in with yourself. There's an app that I use. It's free. I highly recommend it. It's called How We Feel. and it's got these like 4 little circles. So you do like a check-in. You can do it as many times as you want in a day. And it's got these like 4 little circles, and it has high energy, pleasant, low energy, pleasant, high energy, low pleasant, and low unpleasant, or something like that. And within those has all these different emotions, right? So you have, sadness, or tired, or grumpy, or joy, elated, ecstatic, mellow, depressed, anxious, like just even meh is on there. I'm feeling blah, all of these things. And then you kind of click onto it, and it has a little definition of what it means in like, not like the dictionary definition, but just a very layman's term definition. And you can click on it, and so you can see what you're feeling, and then you can write a little journal entry, and you can also track your physical sensations, and then you can see the trends throughout the week and the month of like what are the dominant feelings that you're experiencing on any given basis, right? And that's an app that I really recommend, because it is so important to check in with how the fuck you are feeling, right? How many times I have sat with clients and I'm like, how are you feeling? Good. Fine. Okay. What the fuck does that even mean? What is good, right? Are you feeling content, right? Or are you actually feeling a bit tired? Are you feeling down? Are you feeling anxious? And so when you come into my world, even if you've been on like a free masterclass with me, I always say, put 1 or 2 words in the chat for how you're feeling, good and fine or not feelings. And it fucks people up, because most people don't even take the time to think about, how am I feeling? How do I feel about this particular situation? What do I think about this? What are my beliefs? What are my opinions? How do I actually, when that person said that thing, how did that land in my body, right? Or scrolling for 6 hours and you don't even realize how depleted you are after that. And these are the moments where it's like those daily check-ins, and maybe you want to set alarms on your phone or notifications, or put it in your calendar of like daily check-in, to just take a second. It could be, maybe you don't want to use the app. It's just putting your hand on your heart and asking like, hey, how are you feeling right now? Oh, I feel tense in my body. Okay, cool. What do you need then? And giving yourself what you need. And just on that, people I've seen have a tendency to either go like one way or the other, where they're completely reliant on themselves and self-soothing. And so every need that they have is like, oh, I'll take care of it. Like, I've got it. Or the other way, where as soon as someone's having a feeling, they're like, I need to call someone. I need to get this out of me. And that's not sustainable either, right? Relationships require interdependence, and that requires you to feel safe with space and closeness. That is what we're ultimately aiming for. And so when you are having these feelings, asking yourself, is this something that I need to take care of right now? Or do I actually need to reach out for support? And often it's like, if you're trying to work through either anxious attachment, you probably need to learn how to self-soothe better. If you're learning to work through more an avoidant attachment style, then it's working through leaning into closeness and, intimacy, and allowing yourself to be supported by another person. So asking yourself, what's the thing that I would normally do, and how can I actually lean into the opposite here? And then obviously you guys know that I have to bring in my signature framework of clock it, own it, clean it up. So a big thing, how do I stop abandoning myself? If I'm completely honest, you already know the answer to that. You do. Like, I had a client the other day. She's been in an on and off again relationship for years with someone, and they'd, gone no contact, and then got in contact again, and it was like, oh, we've been invited to go do this thing, and we're going to go together. And she was like, I'm just not sure that I should do this. Kind of feels like backsliding. Like, what do you think? And I was like, I'm going to put that question back to you. What do you think is the answer here? If you were to put it through clock it, own it, clean it up, what do you think the answer is? And she was like, well, I think the answer would be to not go to that thing. with him. And I was like, right. Because you know that that is backsliding. That's why you're asking the question. And so it's actually like giving yourself more credit. But the thing is, I believe that we all have intuition, especially as women. We hear that voice that says, don't do that thing, don't go back to him, or, you know, don't start this relationship with this person, you're ignoring red flags, or it says, this actually is a safe person, but your ego is like, oh no, they're boring. I believe that we all have this intuition. The problem is that we don't listen to it. We either gaslight ourselves into telling ourselves that we're being too harsh or too critical, or we're not giving the benefit of the doubt, or we're not being compassionate enough, or we just simply ignore it, right? And we're like, you know, that classic question, is it fear or is it intuition? And that's for you to figure out. But ultimately, you do know the answer. And the clean it up part, people ask me this all the time. I can clock it, right? I can recognize my pattern. I can own it. But how do I clean it up? You know how to clean it up. Don't fucking text him. But you just have the impulsivity of a 4-year-old where you're like feeling tension in your body, and then you're like, oh my God, and you text him, and then you instantly feel a little bit of relief. Even if you don't get the response that you're looking for, you feel relief because now that tension is no longer in your body. You've relieved yourself by sending a text. So how do you clean it up? You have discipline. You be an adult. And that is as simple as it is, and as challenging as it is. It's about actually growing the fuck up. Stop acting like a 5-year-old who has no control over your emotions, and have some discipline around that, right? Going back to the beginning, have some self-respect. That might sound harsh, but honestly, this is the conversation that I needed to have with myself. No one's coming. No one's coming to pry the phone out of your hand. No one is coming to take the fucking bag of chips away from you. No one is coming to change your patterns for you. I can't do it for you. This podcast is not going to do it for you. Like, Tony Robbins is not going to fucking do it for you. You have to be the one to do it, and stop waiting for your partner to change before you change. People ask me this all the time. How do I get my partner to do the work? I'll tell you how not to get him to do the work. Don't put The Way of the Superior Man by David Data on his fucking nightstand. Don't be like, oh my God, you should listen to this podcast. It's about avoidant attachment. You should listen to it. I think you'll get a lot from it. Don't shove it down his throat. You want to get your partner to do the work? Be the embodiment of it. Show them. If you go back a couple of episodes and listen to the episode that I did with Heather, she's a client of mine. She's in the experience. She's in the Connected Woman. She talks about this, that her partner, when she first started working with me, he was like, that Michelle chick can eat a dick. Like, I fucking hate her. You're changing so much. He now listens to my podcast and he reads books on shadow work because he saw such a positive change in her that he was like, fuck, what are you doing? I want some of that for myself. So be the embodiment of it. And that comes with you choosing you and having discipline over your patterns. Stop being a victim to your patterns. I get people have mental health issues. That's a different conversation. But also, like, seek support with that. You know, do what you need to do as best you can. And then from there, choose to have discipline around changing your behaviors. The other thing is, you cannot have a really deep, strong, embodied sense of self-love if you are talking shit to yourself all the time. In the Connected Woman, obviously, we're talking about shadow work. And so we're talking about shadows. And, you know, I rattle off all these different shadows, you know, manipulative, liar, violent, all these things. And so one of them that gets people really tripped up is, you know, violent. They're like, I cannot see how I am violent. I've never put my finger on another person, an animal. I wouldn't hurt a fly. And I'm like, I fully believe you. I believe that you are not violent in that way, you know? But how do you speak to yourself? are you violent to yourself? Are your thoughts violent towards yourself? And I don't mean like having intrusive thoughts, but I mean when you make a mistake and you call yourself a piece of shit or you call yourself an idiot, that's being quite violent to yourself. That's being quite abusive to yourself. And you cannot have a healthy sense of self-esteem, self-love, self-respect if you are treating yourself like garbage. And then at the end of the day, how can you expect someone to treat you with respect when you don't treat you with respect? You cannot ask someone to do something or treat you a certain way that you are refusing to do for yourself. And, you know, I say this all the time, and I don't know where this quote came from. If anyone knows, let me know. But it's like, you can't choose your first thought, but you can absolutely choose your second, right? So you can choose whether or not you go down the spiral of negative self-talk. When you make a mistake, maybe your first thought is, I'm an idiot. And then you could go, oh my God, I always do this. Like I'm always late, or, you know, I always make mistakes like this. I'm so careless, blah, blah, blah. You can choose to go down that rabbit hole, or you could choose, I'm such an idiot. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm just learning to get it together. This is still new to me, right? Or I misjudged the time, whatever it is. Like, you can still gain momentum. You can still make progress in your life. You can still grow without berating yourself to get there. And if you want to have a healthy, connected relationship to yourself, it's not going to come with being an absolute bitch to yourself. That's just not beneficial at all. Something that I really advocate for is solo dates. So in my program, Main Character Energy, this is one of the challenges that we do, is to like take yourself out to dinner. And it's amazing how many people struggle with this and like have so much resistance to doing it. They're like, oh my God, people are going to think I'm weird. And the thing is, the way that I frame it, I'm like, it's pretty easy to take yourself to brunch, you know, or to lunch or whatever it is, but to actually get all dolled up, to take yourself out to dinner, to ask for the nice table, you know, the one that has the waterfront view, not the one by the fucking toilet, to like ask for all of those things and then sit there without your phone. People have so much resistance. Oh my God, what are people going to think? They're going to think that I got stood up on a date. Okay, let them think what they fucking think. But also, that has never been my experience. I remember the first time that I went out and took myself on a solo date, and I was dressed to the absolute nines, looked like an absolute 10. And the waitress was like, oh, are you waiting for someone? I'm like, nope, I'm just here on my own. And she was like, oh my God, I love that. That's so brave. I wish I had the confidence to do that. And I'm like, confidence is irrelevant. It's courage, right? The very first time that I went on a solo date, I was scared. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be awkward. This is so uncomfortable. I had the best time. That was years ago that I implemented solo dates, and I still think about it. I take myself to the movies. I take myself on a drive. I go to the bathhouse. I go to like my favorite bookstore, and I'll just sit there for like an hour and I'll just read. I'll take myself to dinner. I'll take myself for drinks. Like I love spending time with myself. And so then when you come from that frame, you just believe that other people love spending time with you as well. Because I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't you, right? I'm fun to be around and I just love my own company. But this is part of not abandoning yourself in a relationship. Maintain that. And that's kind of what going back to like, be single in a relationship. Don't give up those things. Stay with the solo dates. You know, date yourself, date your city. Take yourself away on a weekend getaway if you can. You know, just find ways, even if it's just going to the botanical gardens and just walking around. Like, it doesn't have to cost money. It could be going to the fucking library. I don't know. But take yourself on solo dates, and I promise you, you're going to just find little quirks and things that you love about yourself, and you actually have time to spend with yourself. That's not Netflix or constantly with a friend or constantly with your boyfriend or whatever it is. And then finally, at the end of the day, people can come and go, and they will, right? People come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. But that doesn't affect you as much when you know that you will stay with you, no matter what. It is a feeling that is indescribable. And I know that my girls inside the experience and the connected woman would resonate with this, because you kind of don't understand what it feels like until you actually just feel it. And it's not that breakups don't hurt, or friendship breakdowns don't hurt, or, you know, a change of job or change of career. It's not that those things don't impact you, but you feel a lot safer in relationships because you know that you have got you no matter what. It's this deeply embodied sense of self-trust, you know, that when you're talking to your little one, like your inner child, that no matter what happens, even if someone is so mad at you, even if you're rejected, even if someone leaves, I will never leave. I'm not getting mad at you. I will never reject you. I have got you. And this has single-handedly been the thing that has changed my life and stopped me from abandoning myself and allowed me to actually find that deeply embodied sense of self-love. I've been talking for ages and my throat is getting dry, so I'm going to leave it here. But I love you guys, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Bye.